In 1945, a farmer in Egypt named Mohammed Ali al-Samman unearthed an ancient relic, a glass jar containing 13 leather-bound volumes of papyrus text. Dating back to 367 AD, these forbidden texts were thought to have been hidden away during Saint Athanasius Festal Letters, condemning the use of non-biblical books. The Nag Hammadi library, commonly known as the Chernobyskian manuscripts or Gnostic Gospels, had remained lost and forgotten for over 1,500 years, only to be rediscovered by chance. These sacred manuscripts were written in Coptic and included the complete Gospels of Thomas, Philip, and Mary Magdalene, conversations between Jesus and his disciples, and much more from the early Christian era, even a partial translation of Plato's Republic. It was as if time had stopped and held its breath. Each volume, or codex, is between 34 and 149 pages long and comprises several individual stories known as tractates. Scholars have scrutinized and validated many of these texts by matching quotations across different early Christian sources, translating between multiple languages such as Latin, Greek, and Coptic. Some sources date back as early as the 2nd century. The most prominent topics of discussion related to the resurrection of Jesus, Valentinianism, a recount of Apostle Paul's journey from the 4th to 10th realms of heaven, and the prayer of thanksgiving. The Codex 5 has the first apocalypse of James' text, initially in Coptic, but later discovered in Greek as part of the Oxyrhynchus papyri. It was found along with over 500,000 documents by Bernard Grenfell and Arthur Hunt in an Egyptian garbage dump in 1898. Although not uncommon for these historically forbidden texts to be uncovered, the sheer scale of this find means that of the pages located, despite over a century of progress, only 5,000 have been transcribed to date, the latest being Volume 86, published in November 2021. The difficulty of this task comes from the poor condition of the documents when they were discovered, some fragments being no larger than a single breakfast cornflake. One of the most renowned texts within the collection is the Gospel of Thomas, the only complete version with the writing dating back to the 2nd century. Upon finding it, scholars found that phrases written by Jesus were confirmed by the manuscripts uncovered at Oxyrhynchus. A significant phrase mentioned in Thomas reads, "Whoever can comprehend these sayings will never die." This theme continues throughout, with many codices centered around cosmology and Gnosticism. This religious movement within Jewish and Christian groups emerged in the Mediterranean during the 1st century. Gnostic cosmogony teaches a spirit-matter dualism, with all material entities considered evil and true salvation accessible only through higher powers and enlightenment. This is based on a complex system of divine spirits in the heavenly realm, achieved through secret gnosis or knowledge. A combined Christian Gnostic movement emerged in the 2nd century, creating these later forbidden Gnostic Gospels. These texts claimed apostolistic authorship, including works from many of Jesus' disciples, including Peter, Philip, Thomas, and Judas. However, it's thought that these texts were banned due to their differing interpretations of Jesus' importance. The Gnostic Gospels depicted Jesus as a revealer of human wisdom rather than a Messiah, which later rulers deemed problematic. As such, many people hid these documents for safekeeping and for later generations to find. Following the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library, an author named James Robinson began to research their origins in the 1970s. He suggested the codices may have originally belonged to a nearby Pachomian monastery, only to be buried for safekeeping following their condemnation. This theory raises many currently unanswered questions about the history and practices of the early Christian Church, sparking ongoing debates among scholars and religious leaders alike about the nature of early Christianity and the diversity of spiritual teachings during that time. One of the first quotes from the Gospel of Mary states, "All nature, all formations, all creatures exist in and with one another, and they will be resolved again into their own roots." This theory of energy continues to be expressed in modern society, with various fictional works incorporating elements of Gnosticism and the Gnostic Gospels, including our episode on Valis by Philip K. Dick. This explores Gnosticism in a science fiction setting, warning of a surveillance state ruled by godlike forces. PKD considered himself a Gnostic, with his posthumous publication, The Exegesis, delving into many different theories. Another example is the Da Vinci Code, a book and movie by Dan Brown, inspired by Holy Blood, Holy Grail. The story presents a conspiracy theory that Jesus Christ had a child with Mary Magdalene, based on the Gospels of Philip and Mary Magdalene. Even though the book is fiction, it has gotten people interested in Gnostic ideas and texts. Brown's book suggests that the Gnostic Gospels hold the key to understanding Christianity's true nature and origins. Despite being banned and considered heretical by mainstream Christians, Gnostic texts not only survive and continue to be translated today, but their ongoing study sheds more light on the past's complex and fascinating religious landscape. Thanks for joining us today on this investigative journey, and be sure to come back for more strange and obscure stories.